Hey Mel, how you doing today?
I'm good, Megan. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Got a lot on the brain, so
I bet. I bet. So, the other day you asked me a question about discounts, or you sent me a question about discounts.
Mhm.
So, lay it on me. What kind of question do you have about discounting?
So one of the things that I've seen come up across the board is the idea that when we as marketers decide that it is time to implement a discount to help move the needle on ticket sales for an event, for a show, that sometimes there is hesitation from leadership to put too much either effort or money behind something that is then a discounted ticket sale, where we want to make sure that the efforts that the marketers are putting in to set up the discount with the ticketing platform and in order to get the word out in different ways, that that effort is paying off in the long run. Do you have any thoughts on the benefit of making sure that when discounts go out, they really go out?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to put effort into getting your discount created. There's a lot of, behind the scenes work that goes on. So you want a good return on your investment for it. So you want to make sure you're using all of your communication channels that you have available to you, mostly digital communication channels, because discounts kind of happen fast, to get that out there and so that it gets some use for you. I wouldn't be too worried about your bottom line and how a discount would affect it because you're going to put some parameters on it. At least I'm going to suggest that you put some
Yeah.
parameters on it when you're putting that discount together. So let's go back a little bit to that using your communication channels. You want to make sure you're sending out an email, whether it's a mass email or a targeted email. If this is a public discount, a big discount, like not big discount, but like a big, community kind of discount, then definitely do some social media. Do an organic post and do a paid ad. A lot of our clients had only ever been just kind of posting about it. And the way that the algorithm is working in the paid ad world, in the social media world in general, is that if you're not putting some money behind it, people might not see it. So let's say you're running like a flash sale and it's only 48 hours, which to be honest with you, that would be the minimum I would run a discount. You want to
That is
make
something I
sure.
wanted to ask is
Yeah.
those limitations for sure too.
Yeah, yeah. So like if you're running a 24-hour discount and you didn't put an ad behind it, people might not see your post until like 3 days after it ended. And then it's like, what was the point then?
Mhm.
So yeah, so make sure that like you've put a little money behind it. You don't have to do a whole lot, just kind of a regular paid ad unless you really want to make a splash with it, then I would say max yourself out. 50,
Mhm.
$70 a day for
Mhm.
how long you're going to run it. So yeah, then Megan, let's talk a little bit about the limitations
Yeah,
on how.
because part of that is going to be how long do we run it for? What is the right balance of not running it for too long, but running it long enough for it to get traction and be effective? And then the same thought, like you just mentioned with budget, there's such a thing as too much money invested in pushing out a discount, and there's such a thing as too little that it's not going to make a difference. So where is kind of that sweet spot, or what are some examples of like sweet spots that you might recommend for people to use?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say a good sweet spot would be if you're going to run a discount, run it for around 5 days. 5 days works well because it gives enough time, especially if you're going to send an email and you're going to do some social media. It gives time for that post to be seen. Even if you're doing a paid ad, it's still a play in that algorithm game. Same with your emails. Not everybody checks their email right away. Make sure you use a nice splashy headline so that they subject line so that they open that email. But yeah, I would definitely say run it a minimum of 2 days. 5 days is the sweet spot. I wouldn't do more than 10 days on your
Okay.
discount. 10 days is just a little too long unless it's like your kickoff. So let's say you're kicking off, you're opening your season and you are around 4 to 6 months away from your opening production. Then
Mhm.
yeah, run that discount for a little bit longer. Maybe up to a month, up to 4 weeks or so. But if this is like a little bit closer to your opening, you're running a little bit behind on sales or you've got some empty seats in the theater and this is more of a flash sale, then definitely do around 5 days. And then as for like your budget spend, make it worthwhile. I would do a minimum of $30 a day. up to maybe about 60 a day. And of course, Megan, you live more in ads worlds than I do, but I would say like if you're wanting to make sure it's seen and it's seen within a certain time period, put some money behind it. Yeah.
Yes, I will say, I think those budgets feel very accurate. Obviously, it depends on what your grander budget for either marketing or marketing of this show specifically is and allows for. We have seen success, not even specifically with discount advertising, but with 48-hour kind of like last minute pushes is what we call them. Whenever we run a 48-hour ad, doing anywhere from $50 to $100 for the total advertisement. So either $50 a day, $100 total, something like that, usually leads to some very effective ad interactions.
Absolutely, it does. Again, it's playing a little bit of a game, with the social media platforms. So you gotta play their game a little bit, spend a little bit more money, but make it worthwhile. And then let's talk a little bit about kind of your logistics of it, how you want this ad to work.
Mm,
Definitely make it work for you, work for what you need. So let's say
mhm.
you're doing a run of shows, you've got like a Thursday through Sunday run, and you're realizing that you're like Saturday matinee. Let's say you do like two shows on a Saturday and your matinee is just not getting there. Then the discounts for that matinee, maybe that matinee and another show, giving people an either or is usually you get a good positive response out of that. And then look at your theater. So look at where are seats not selling in the theater so that way you can at least have a full feeling theater. So even if you're not gonna, your revenue isn't quite there, if you can make that theater feel full, not just to your performers on stage who always want to make sure that they're going to see out there. And if they see holes, they're going to question. But if they don't see them, if you've masked it a little bit by selling some tickets on discount, they'll feel great on stage. And then for your audience members, they're going to look around and say, hey, this was a hot ticket. I'm so glad that I got this, even if I purchased it on a discount. And they're going to tell their friends, I saw this amazing show, and there were all these people there too. So, if you happen to have a theater that's got two levels, like a balcony and a floor, get your floor full. Like that's super helpful. People think that a nice full floor area orchestra, that means that was a hit. And it always works that way because your balcony is usually kind of hidden and darkened as well. So that's just a little tip or trick for how to fill the theater and like where
Yeah.
to, especially when you're using discounts.
So, what I'm thinking about too, and I want to specify, is as we're talking about these kind of discounts, running them for potentially 5 days, we're not thinking about those last minute sales where the show is on Thursday, Friday of this week, and we're looking at sales on Monday and Tuesday, going, wow, we need to push people into seats this weekend. That is not our preferred discount method. And if you followed us for a while, if you go back and dig into our social media videos or our blogs, you will hear that we try to avoid those kind of discounts in order to not devalue your product to audience members, making them think that the longer they hold out on buying tickets, they're going to get a discount. That's not what we're talking about here. The discounts that we're talking about planning here are ones that are weeks to months before the show that you're trying to sell. And that is why data is so important because we would be tracking our sales so far out that you know how things are moving, how things are selling, how audiences are responding, and then making the choice to implement these discounts in a well thought through manner.
Yeah, you're
Mhm.
absolutely right, Megan. So, like, you want to plan your discounts like you plan any marketing campaign. So, it's got to be done ahead of time, and you've got to put your campaign together. You put your campaign together for each of your productions or even for your season, well in advance, 8 months in advance if you're lucky. So at that same time, think about your discounts. And then you got to think about your triggers of when are you going to decide to discount. Again, it's always nice to open your season with kind of a splash and a discount. It just helps. It helps get jumpstart sales. We've had a
Mhm.
client who recently decided to start doing that this year. And it was such a boost to their sales for their production season that they're definitely going to do it again. And they're also going to think about other triggers for when to discount. You need to take time. You got to look back at your data, look back at maybe which times of day, which days of week don't sell very well, which sections in your theater don't sell very well, and decide when do I need to put a discount together and at what point should I do that. And just like Megan said, week of I get that you're nervous about a week of show and and you've got a half full house. By that point, you kind of got to let it go. Because that's not gonna, you can run a discount, you can do a sale and you can do some advertising and you may sell some tickets, but it's not
Mhm.
gonna be enough. If you want to be more effective, you should have looked at that day 3 weeks ago and said, this is when I'm running that discount.
Mhm.
And then you do it, and now you've gotten ahead of the problem, and you should hopefully be at a nicer, fuller theater at that point. People are making their buying decisions later. And
Yes.
so if you're gonna all go ahead and offer a discount, reward the people who are making decisions early versus the people who are making decisions late and let them pay full price.
Mhm.
You want to influence buying behavior, and your discounts can help you influence buying behavior.
And all of that to cycle back to the original thought of how much time, effort, and money are worthy of investing into discounts in order to make sure that if you're going to spend the effort to make it happen, that you actually go all in to make sure that it is an effective use of it. It's because of that planning. You're not doing it last minute, and that's where we do have those panic moments of we want to get this discount out there. We don't want it to get overused, but we want it to be used enough to move the needle. You can prevent a lot of that by planning and tracking far enough in advance. So that way, when it comes down to that last minute, you have a base that has been built up by both full price ticket buyers and discounted ticket buyers. Well, great. That is always great to have a conversation about discounts and just remind ourselves that it is a full part of your marketing strategy. It is thought through, it is planned, it is coordinated. You are putting your efforts behind it the same way you would any other messaging that you're putting out because it's an important message to get out when you choose to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just
So,
consider it part of the overall marketing plan. Put some time behind it, put some thought behind it, and put a little budget behind it too.
okay. Well, thanks for confirming it with me, Mel.
You're welcome.
I'm
Well,
glad we were in the same brain with that.
yes, always here to answer questions. All of us here at Confluence Art Solutions are always here to answer questions that you might have about selling behaviors, ticketing, marketing, ads. That's what we're here for. So don't
We
hesitate to
love to
reach
nerd
out
out
to us.
about it.
Yes, yes. Contact us through all of our communication channels. You can send an email, message us on social media, and we're happy to answer them for you.
All right, I'll talk to you soon, Mel. Thanks.
Thanks, Megan. Have a great day.
Bye.